And what's up, everybody? I'm back with another movie review. Today, I'm reviewing Get Hard. What a great movie title that is. This movie came out in 2012, and it stars Will Ferrell and Kevin Hart. Yes, two comedy icons. I never really would have thought that these two could ever team up. So I was quite interested. I watched this movie on a plane, flying home from our trip. And I do want to make a note real quick that I was extremely nauseous while watching this movie. Not because of the movie itself, but because I had food poisoning, and I was also on a plane for 6 hours. I had intentions of doing a little mini marathon, seeing that there was a lot more movies that were available to watch, but this is the only one that I could sit through without not throwing up. So this is all you're getting from that plane ride. So, anyways, I got a lot of thoughts on this movie. Let's just jump right into it, shall we? Yeah, Will Ferrell, Kevin Hart. Like I said, a team up that you wouldn't necessarily expect. Um, it, they're both but they both really have similar comedy styles. You don't really think of that, but they do a very similar. Like, they're very loud, eccentric, outrageous styles, and I really, in this movie at least, they work really well together. Actually, I was kind of surprised. They I think they bounce off of each other very, very well. And I think the whole underlying point of the movie about, like, people realizing that even though we may be different points in the world, that we all come from same points and may hit the same roadblocks, and it's good to realize that somebody that you might think has nothing in common with you actually does have a good amount of common with you. That whole kind of thing with, like, tackling, like, even racism. They tackle racism stuff in this movie, which is and they do it very, very well. They take it from a comedic standpoint, but they also make it very serious and make some good motivational points. And I think that was a really, really good direction to go with this movie. And it helps that Kevin Hart and Will Ferrell both do a really good job at portraying that and using their peak comedy styles to make it funny, but also make it effective. So I was like, I like that. I also want to point out that John Mayer is in this movie. It's wild. I mean, Jimmy Fallon is too. I mean, there's a lot of celebrity cameos in this movie, I guess, but John Mayer was an interesting choice, even for 2012, to make one of the bigger cameos, but I just wanted to point that out. I do want to also, though, talk about, because there's not a lot of great things about this movie. This movie is incredibly mid in many points. I thought the writing wasn't that great. Funny enough, they really felt like they followed a very similar plot structure to Talladega Nights, which came out 6 years prior. And it also, the allegations are not helped by the fact that again, Will Ferrell's in this, obviously, but also the main enemy from Talladega Nights, Mr. Dennett, is also in this, and he is also not the main villain, but one of the villains, which is getting crazy. But it follows a pretty similar plot structure in other ways too. Starts out, Will Ferrell starts out as this, very popular, rich, cocky guy. He's got it all. He's got the babe. He's got the house. He's got the house. Yeah, Will has got the house. Will got the house. And he's got everything you would ever want. He's got the money. He's got everything. But then something happens and he loses it all. And then he's got to work in the trenches, find somebody that he never thought he would work with in his life, finds a deep connection with them, and eventually rises up to take back down the people that knocked him off his high horse in the first place, and eventually sits at the top again. It's kind of what that's the whole structure of this movie. Now, in this movie, he immediately does actually go to prison, and so he's kind of not really doesn't get back up to that high horse point like he does in Talladega Nights, but I guess he doesn't really in Talladega Nights either, so it kind of follows the same structure. Anyway, it's just some other points that are just very bland. Like, there wasn't a whole lot going on. There was some really funny skits, though, that they did, when Kevin Hart is training Will Ferrell for prison, and there's a lot of crazy stuff that they do there. They say the word, okay, which was, but they do some really funny stunts, and other really really funny stuff through that, and also there's just a lot of really funny puns and plot puns and stuff that they make, which is really good too. So, including, they made a lot of dick jokes in this movie as well, and I had a couple funny ones that I wrote down, like Dickade and Dickopedia. Those ones got a chuckle out of my extremely nauseous self. So, good job, movie. That was pretty fun. So I like that. There was a lot of really funny comedy points, but also some really good character development and really good underlying messages that I really really liked in this movie. But it works really really well as being a comedy as well. There were some good points that got some good laughs out of me, as much as it could for me being nauseous. I think I would have laughed more at this movie if I wasn't watching it on an airplane while trying not to throw up. But, I still really enjoyed it, surprisingly. Like, it wasn't half bad. Like, I would call it high mid. I didn't have very high expectations going in. Quite frankly, it was the best looking movie from an outside standpoint from all the movies that they had. And not saying much, seeing the selection that they had. But I gave it a watch, and you know what? I wasn't that mad. I would have liked to see him actually go to prison, more than just in the end credits, though. I would have liked to see that. Maybe they do the learning stuff, and then he goes to jail for a few days. We get to see his training applied in jail. And then the whole thing with him getting acquitted because of the evidence being untampered with or whatever. Then that happens, and then the final end sequence happens. I would have liked to see that, because it's a huge point of emphasis with the training. And, there's other reasons why that is, but I would have liked to maybe see actually be in prison. In the movie Let's Go to Prison, where they do the training stuff while already in prison, I guess, at that point. So it's kind of just learn by exposure, but still. So anyways, though, that's gonna do it for this review. I was genuinely not disappointed with this movie. I'll give it a 6. It was okay. Would I watch it again? No, probably not. Maybe I'll give it a try in like a marathon or something. Like, it wasn't the worst movie ever. It's a comedy from its time. The early 2010s. There was a lot of movies like this, but I think they did a really good job with some underlying messages and really good character development, and that can go a long way. So, but anyways, though, that's gonna do it for this review. If you've ever seen this movie, I'd love to know your thoughts about it in the comment section down below. And that's going to do it for this video as well, so stay tuned for much more amazing content, including more movie reviews and other awesome stuff. And until next time, see you guys later. Goodbye.